Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as Ordered. It is I, your unorthodox statistician 2-5, and of course I got the one and only Mr. Logical with me in the building tonight. We got a lot to get to tonight. We're going to do some NFL Week 15 reaction. Get you a college football playoff preview. We got Alabama and Oklahoma, Miami and A&M. We're going to talk some NBA. We got the NBA Cup Finals going on as we speak. But first, like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things, preferably with a liquid death in your hand, and we're going to jump right into it. So let's see. We got you there, Mr. Logical. Look like we got some difficulties going on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Your picture. Let me.
Yeah. Bring me back in. Bring me back.
Right, that's not this. All right. So
I'm saying bring me back.
We got all these injuries going on in the NFL this weekend, from Micah Parsons to Patrick Mahomes, all across the board. And of course, that's not a fun place to be. We want to see the best players playing at all times. So now the AFC is paving a certain road that looks very advantageous to the Buffalo Bills. On one end, no Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Miami can score a little bit, not necessarily the best defense, but division rival out of the way. Chargers got the injuries at offensive line. Mr. Logical.
Yes.
Is this the year the Buffalo Bills circle the wagons and get through?
Nah, because they're going to probably have to play from the wild card. So I don't think I think New England's 1 win away from clinching the division. So that makes Buffalo a wild card. So they're going to have to play all their games on the road. I'm pretty sure they have a fighting chance, but not having any home games or not likely to have any home games can be a problem. And they are super Josh dependent, and they're very dependent on tight ends because their wide receivers don't really make plays down the field. Now, he can get them open in space. Like you can get Shakir on some of these little rub routes and these drag routes and these routes to the flat. And I think he's fine, but I don't know if you can go into a playoff run kind of handicap in the passing game. Because if they know your 15 to 20-yard routes are mainly looking for 88 and 86, I think a good defensive coordinator can game plan for that.
So for me, to answer your questions, Scott, no, I don't. I don't trust the Patriots just for the same reasons, some of the same reasons that Mr. Logical just brought up about Buffalo. Their wide receivers don't get a lot of separation. They don't even use their best weapon enough, Trey Henderson. And, Denver, it's not that I won't go as far as to say that I trust or don't trust Denver, but I trust Mile High. And I trust that being a tough place to play and a tough place to take a team on the road. And, Denver does have something that New England doesn't, a Super Bowl winning coach. You know what I mean? But as far as Buffalo goes, Mr. Logical, where I do kind of disagree is I think all that stuff you mentioned helps Buffalo. So I know, traditionally you would say you want the road to go through Orchard Park. You want the snow. You want the lake effect, all that good stuff. But I think that sometimes that comes with certain pressures too. Remember 2 years ago, we had this whole scenario where Patrick Mahomes had never went on the road in the playoffs before. They got the Chiefs in the second round at home. This is it. And then, Stephon Diggs dropped that pass, and then it was, all she wrote. But when I look at Buffalo, I think that if you go on the road, a lot of prognosticators and people like that are going to say the things that you just said. Can Buffalo do this on the road? Can Buffalo do it away from home? And I say to that, I don't know. But if I'm Buffalo, I'm feeling challenged now. Whereas if it was at home, I think all the pressure would be Buffalo better get this done. You're not going to have a better chance than this.
Yeah, that works for Houston. It works for New England, and it works for Denver because they're young teams that haven't had playoff success and or expectations. I think there's been playoff, like you said, prognosticators that said after C.J. Stroud's first year, the next year, everything was like, Houston's going to turn the corner. But Buffalo's been in the playoffs every year. They won the AFC East 5 years in a row. They've gotten home playoff games. They've had their heart broken in the Arrowhead. They finally, beat Baltimore, a really good team at home. Couldn't get over so it's like, I think the expectations of we are here again, and now we're at a disadvantage because, like I said, they were playing with house money the last 5 years by just basically winning a down at AFC East. Granted, they were still a dominant team. They were not here, squeaking by, winning at 9-8. But now you're just like, okay, you could be like, if I'm looking at it right, I'm pulling up one right now from 2 days ago. It has Buffalo playing Jacksonville. You can win that game. But I don't think Jacksonville goes into that game thinking like, oh, we might blow up a lot of stuff if this doesn't go well. Buffalo definitely is blowing up stuff if that first
100%. 100%.
So I think it's a different pressure, coupled with the fact that they've had the heartbreak. Is one thing if it's just pressure. Like Lamar has underplayed in the playoffs in his career. Then he finally had a couple of good games. He put back-to-back and back-to-back seasons. And it's they got over that small hump. They were AFC Championship Super Bowl bound. Like they were there. Like it was ready for the taking a couple of different times. And it's like, just come up short. That's a different feeling.
But I think if you're Buffalo, you look across the landscape, right? And you go, okay, the Chargers. I ain't seen Justin Herbert perform in the playoffs yet. You go New England, new kids on the block, division rival, but new kids on the block. You go, hey, no Kansas City, no Cincinnati, so no Joe Burrow, potentially no Baltimore. So just going off of the standings as they are right now, I'm looking at Pittsburgh and I'm like, that's not Aaron Rodgers from 7-8 years ago. I go up and down. So I'm like, okay, going to Mile High is going to be a tough road to hoe, if you will. That's going to be tough. You know what I mean? But outside of that, if I'm Buffalo, I'm looking at the rest of the AFC and saying, who do I fear, or not necessarily fear, that's the wrong word, but who do I look at and think we might have trouble with? You
definitely have the most recent playoff experience, but your playoff experiences come with heartbreak.
Definitely.
I don't know if you can shake that when you're not in the same advantageous position that you were before. So it's one thing to be like, if they would have ran the table in the AFC East again, got a home playoff game, Kansas City's not out, Baltimore's out, and Josh Allen, and they're rolling to the playoffs at 13-4, which isn't unrealistic for that team. They're not. They have losses to Atlanta. They got losses to Miami. They got losses
guess
to
what?
New England.
They could still win the division. It ain't over yet.
It's not over yet, but if one team has to just win one game, like I don't think New England's gonna just collapse down the stretch.
No,
of these next 3 games.
I don't know how to. I got to look at the tiebreaker as far as
it was just one, because like if they would have won this Sunday, New England would have won the division.
Yeah, they would have won the division, right?
So their magic number is 1.
Well, no, because there's still 3 games left.
So you got,
you know what I'm saying? Because I know Buffalo, they get Cleveland this week on the road. They should win that. They get the Jets one more time. And then if I remember correctly, they close with Philly. But, Philly's going to have the East wrapped up by then. So Philly might be sitting people anyway. Whereas New England has a pretty easy schedule. They have Miami, they have the Jets again, I believe. So it's not out of the realm that New England could wrap it up. Yeah. It's just not spoken for just yet. And I think that if you're Buffalo, even if you could just get one home game, I don't think they need home field throughout. Because like I said, I think that coming into the playoffs, people are looking at Buffalo differently. Like the last couple of years that you're talking about with the heartbreak, a lot of people, myself included, felt like you are Kansas City's equal. But Kansas City made all the intangibles, they made the late plays and they put Buffalo away. So now you can look at this and go, the source of our heartbreak is not there. And on top of that, we're starting here, so people aren't looking at us the same.
It's supposed to be
easier. I think it's the reverse. It's
supposed to be easier. I don't know if there's I guess we're just looking at it from two vantage points.
No, I think that
they probably spent the last few years wondering, am I going to get this monkey off my back? Like Steve Young against the Chargers when he said, get this thing off my back. Like that whole, so obviously it was in his head this entire playoff run.
Right.
And then they wouldn't smash the Chargers in the Super Bowl to the point where he was on the sideline when they did that and the offense was on the field. But Buffalo was like, all right, no Baltimore, no Kansas City, no Cincinnati. You have you got second-year guys, a third-year guy, a 40-year-old guy, and another guy with a broken hand. This looks like your time. You got the reigning MVP who's playing at an MVP level. I think Matthew Stafford's probably leading that. This is your time. But I don't know if they've ever had it to where it's their time and their play match that expectation.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. And that's why I think it's different this time around, because
this is the time it's like, listen, okay, you can't keep losing in the fourth
quarter. No. I just think that, a lot of those other seasons that we're talking about, Buffalo, some of those years they had the path going through their home field. You know what I mean? They lost to Kansas City, they lost to Cincinnati the one year. But I think that starting out on the road, if they have to do it through the road, because I think through the people, like just having conversations, people don't view Buffalo this year through the lens that they viewed them through last year or previous, because some of the things you're talking about, the loss to Atlanta, all that stuff included. Yeah. So I think people are looking at Buffalo like, we're done with Buffalo. Buffalo ain't going to get it done either way because they're just not good enough.
That would be unwise. They still have 17 back there, but
I know. And they got 4 back there. But I just think that to a certain degree, by going on the like Eli and them, right? Nobody expected anything out of them. You know what I mean? They were on the road, and it was easy to go, oh, the Giants are going to lose in the wild card round. And obviously Buffalo's further along than the Giants.
No one's ever had any expectations for Eli and those Giants playoff teams. I'm just saying, I think that the Buffalo AFC reign had postured them up every single offseason that the next year was going to be the year they got over the hump.
Right.
They were like, okay, They ran into Mahomes, a 13-second game, boom. Then you had, I don't know which was, I think the Cincinnati was before that
Cincinnati was the DeMar Hamlin year. It was that same year. And
then they had the Kansas City a couple of times. So I just think that maybe it's less pressure to start on the road and you're not at home and you're not, familiar territory. You're in a hotel. You're traveling.
I think the pressure doesn't come
until a little earlier and lock in. Yeah.
I think for them, the pressure doesn't start, and I agree with Scott that you learn from your past mistakes. That's where the experience comes in. But I think with Buffalo, the thing is, I think the pressure wouldn't start per se until the AFC title game. You know what I mean? Because like you said, they played Jacksonville the first round. I think you feel like they could beat Jacksonville. You know what I mean? Or like I said, Justin Herbert hasn't shown anything. Or I guess it wouldn't be them. But Pittsburgh, if you get the 4-5
from 2 days ago, yeah.
Right. If you get the 4-5 matchup with Pittsburgh, you feel good about that. I think where it comes into play is if you have to go to Mile High for that AFC Championship game and it goes, all right, Buffalo, you're on the doorstep again. But I think before that, I think you're playing with house money to a certain degree, because I think because in Houston is the team that I would be afraid of if I was Buffalo. That's the one that has their number for whatever reason. It just seems that Houston's defense gives Josh Allen a lot of hell. So we'll see. But
they rush off the edge and they push up the middle. So it's like the edge guys we talk about, the creative player Danielle Hunter. So they can press you off the edge and they can push you up the middle. So like those are all Josh Allen's favorite things to do, like roll out and they can play or step up and scramble. So it's like if you cut both of those options off and Kincaid's not open, it's a lot of punting.
All right. Well, since we're there, are the Broncos realistic Super Bowl contenders?
I would have to say yes. They're the number one seed. They have the advantage of their very deep team, very complete team. I think their corners. I know Riley Moss gets a lot of just pass. I don't know if he's averaging one a week.
It seems
every game that I've watched, it's been mentioned and I've seen it happen. And because Rachel's daughter, Ava, she's a big Broncos fan. So we end up watching that game a lot of times on Sundays. So almost every game that we've watched, he's gotten one. And it's like,
a lot of them are bad calls too.
Terrible calls. They're terrible calls. Like, let the guy play.
I'm like, they don't call that on sauce.
They don't call it on probably like 80% of guys. Like it's a few guys, and I think maybe it's just a reputation thing. Maybe it's a piece they talk about, and like these guys are kind of handy. But having those two pieces on the outside, I think
it's these DEI refs,
like the way he made a tackle yesterday, on Sunday he went through the tight end, knocked the tight end out the game, and made the tackle. So it's like having someone who plays downhill like that from the safety position. I think that's the thing that Denver has. They have a game that travels, and if you have to, like, everyone's gonna have to travel there. Everything you do, it's different. I know these guys are elite athletes, but it's different at 5,280 feet. It's a different level of breathing that high up. Like you and I, like I said, we talked about it. We went from Hill, which is like 4,900 feet, to Peterson, which is like 6,000 feet. I was out there playing basketball. I was like, I thought I was going to die. I'm like, I live in Utah. I should be fine. So, yeah, that mile high advantage, the way their defense plays. And I think Sean Payton has figured out the quarterback position. I don't want to call him a quarterback whisperer because he couldn't whisper to Russell, but I think he's figured out what Bo Nix likes. I like the amount of receivers they run out there between Franklin. They got the small slot guy, Bandy, like the new Wes Welker. So, yeah, I like what Denver's doing, and, getting a bye and having people come to your building to play. I think that probably gives them – I think they have a realistic chance to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. It wouldn't surprise me.
I think realistic is probably the right word, but I still won't go as far as to say they're my favorite. I think they'll be the betting favorite. I don't think they're my favorite, because when I see Denver, I look at Houston a lot. You know what I mean? I see two defenses that can hold up against anybody. So you always got a chance when that's the case. You know what I mean? But they also have one of the same flaws that Houston has. Neither one of them run the ball consistently enough for what the weather is going to dictate that you need to do. You know what I mean? So like out in Mile High, while they have that advantage, what happens on that day that it's 25 degrees and they've run 25 times for 60 yards?
Yeah, but Harvey also has 6 rushing touchdowns and 4 receiving.
Oh yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy to UCF.
They can't. So
he's been injured. They
can't hand it to him. They were like, listen, they're stopping the run, but you can't stop the run and this bubble screen. You gotta pick your poison. So if they time it right, and he's good in space, like I say, he has 4 receiving touchdowns.
Right, but he also has that rib injury, and you know what I mean. It's late in the year to be dealing with ribs. You know what I mean, especially like I said, as that weather gets a little bit colder out there, and it depends on the matchup, of course.
He'll have a nice heated jacket.
But I think
heated bench.
But that's why I think that
hold on them, keeping them warm, keeping that rib.
But I feel like I see too many teams that can give Denver problems. Like I think Buffalo could give them a problem. You know what I mean? Because they don't run well enough to abuse Buffalo in the way that you can. I think that the Chargers might give them issues. You know, Houston can match the defense with them. So, you know what I mean? So from that standpoint, like I don't think it's as open and shut, but Bo Nix
doesn't like. I don't know if Houston offensively is consistent. I think their defense gives them a few extra chances when they have a couple of bad drives, a couple of 3 and outs. The defense like, cool, we salivating to get back on the field anyway. And then that third drive is like, all right, they make some moves.
But if Denver plays Houston, that's just field position. It's a field position.
Yeah, I think that's the advantage. That's the advantage, though. And you gotta go to Mile High.
Yeah. So you know, it was the logical. On Thursday, you know what I'm saying, we got the Rams and the Seahawks. And before we actually talk about that game a little bit, I want to go back to Sunday for a minute. Man, I was watching Phillip Rivers throw that ball. And it was like watching James Harden trying to get to the bucket. Like that ball was coming out slow, like especially when he was throwing it to the sideline. Like it felt like the throw took 5 seconds to get to the sideline, you know, and they almost won that game though.
You got like the dude banged like a 60-yard field goal. I don't know how, like I saw that, like because I was watching a different game.
Good point, Scott.
They cut in to show the Colts field goal, and it was like 18 seconds if I could see the score in the corner, and then they cut back to show Seattle's field goals. I don't know like how quickly they got back in field position.
Yeah, they played Denver this weekend too. Jacksonville and Denver.
The Colts had a strange year. I can't believe like you said, they come back to the mean. But the AFC South has been playing a lot better than anyone expected. I mean, the Titans are losing, but they look like they got something going. They look like they're a solid head.
Yeah, they got ass going. That's what they got going.
Cam Ward threw a touchdown pass with defensive tackle, so it's like at least they're creative.
I mean, Tony Pollard's been coming on the last couple of weeks for sure, but
they've had a good run. And I just feel like it's like I said, the Phillip Rivers thing was weird. Like I came, like all the quarterbacks, all the guys on practice squads, and all the guys in the league that could have done that job for Phillip to come back. It's pretty hilarious. And
where's Ryan Tannehill at? Well, you know, like
and they gave him Daniel Jones' number. It's like Matt Ryan's like, I'm only 40. I could come back.
Well, Shane Steichen and Phillip Rivers are pretty much best friends. You know what I mean? So they talk all the time from what I was reading. So it was natural that you make a phone call
before you like call a 44-year-old grandpa to come play quarterback. This isn't a movie. This isn't unnecessary roughness. Like this is real life. This is real. Like there's a 21-year-old, 22, 23, 25-year-old dudes out there running around catching routes, trying to make tackles. Like, and I got this grandpa that's gonna fly in and just be ready to go. Like, and asked him what his playing weight was. He was like, "It's higher than it was."
I don't know. Yeah, you know, but they almost won that game, though. You know, even though Shane Steichen, you know, he does the things like that. Even when they work, I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, why did you play for a 60-yard field goal?" Now, granted, you made it. You know what I'm saying? But you outside, dog. Like up in the Pacific Northwest. You ain't in Jerry World. You ain't in the House of Horrors. You're not in the compressor.
There's real conditions going on in that stadium. Like it's literally designed to be, a problem.
So going into this game on Thursday, does Seattle almost lose it? Because I know, we overreact to everything. Does Seattle almost losing that game give you hesitancy to pick them against the Rams?
It's in LA or is it in Seattle?
It's in Seattle.
I just think the Rams are just on one. I think the Rams are just different.
So I will say though,
something today about like older quarterbacks is like you see the teams with the older quarterbacks that are just playing better. I just think Matt Stafford's seeing the field at a different speed than everybody else. And then
I will say
running routes in between the guard and the tackle. Like you see his route when he came in motion. and they snapped the ball and he ran through the guard and tackle and ran it. I'm like, who does that?
Well, that's the thing. Like Devontae looked like he pulled his hamstring again, in that game the other day.
Off the way he felt like
Yeah.
he had shot in the back.
Yeah, and then Puka went out. I don't know if he's okay or not, but I know he took that shot to the back and he kind of fainted when he got up. So I don't know what his status is. But I think Seattle just wins the game anyway, regardless. They played in LA a little while ago, and Sam Darnold threw 3 picks. They held the Rams to 21. Still had a chance for a game-winning field goal, even though, it wasn't a realistic field goal, but they were able to take the field goal. I think I think the home field is one of those games where at least for me, it's one of those games where the teams match up so well that I'm just going with the home team. Blake Corum, shout out to your guy, Scott. Blake Corum's coming on late in the season to help Kyron Williams out in the backfield. So maybe this looks like a old school smash mouth.
Maryland guy, right?
Who's that?
Blake Corum. He went to high school in Maryland, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just know he went to Michigan.
Yeah, he went to prep school in Maryland.
But yeah, I think this is going to be an old school game, and I think that plays to Mike McDonald.
Have we seen Sam Darnold perform in a pressure game since he's gotten a real opportunity with a real organization? That time with the Jets, you can kind of like you can watch it because it seems like the Jets haven't been able to get it right, and I don't know if that's a structure thing or organizational thing.
Well, I mean, he went 14-3 last year, so I mean, he had to have had a big moment at some point.
But I'm talking about like in this, like the clutch, we win this, we take over your spot. I don't think he had that game. And I don't think he's had that game. I think he's had good games. I think he's had, like I said, I can lay it out there and say he's a good quarterback. And the Jets years were definitely an anomaly. And I think Carolina's, is partly the same because Carolina was in, a little bit of discombobulation as well for a while. They seem to maybe right the ship. But I just haven't seen them do it yet. So I'm just going to bank on Stafford and McVay because I just feel like of the 2 quarterbacks, so you said the teams are evenly matched, you give it to the home team. I would say because they're evenly matched, I give it to the coach quarterback combination.
That makes sense. All right, so you got the Rams, I got the Seahawks.
Yes.
All right, so then let's talk about the rest of Week 15, Mr. Logical. So, of course, we talked about Buffalo a little bit earlier, but, man, coming back from 21-0 on the road and, New England, the lost part of this, I think, is New England special teams gave up so much in this game. They gave up a 45-yard kickoff return. They gave up 38-yard returns. 58 yards on one of the returns. You know what I mean? So Buffalo, I think, finally settled down and said, let's give the ball to James Cook. And back to my point earlier, the Patriots don't use Henderson enough.
I thought they were using him pretty effectively. When they went up 21-0, I got up. I was like, well, let me go to the store now because I was going to cook. So I was like, ran to the grocery store, grabbed some salmon, some crab meat, some crab legs. How I do, stuff the salmon up. Now, had the butter melted on the crab legs. I'm doing my thing. I go look back at the TV. Scores 24-21 Baltimore. I'm like, or Buffalo. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah,
but
the Patriots
early 21-0 leads always like that, especially when you go touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. You get a couple of stops. You get a stop here, stop there.
Yeah. The Patriots outscored them 24-7 in the first half. Buffalo outscored them 28-7 in the second half.
Yeah, so it was a very strange game. Special teams, you got to lock that up. I mean, normally New England giving up 35 points this year, just historically, when they're good, they don't make those kind of mistakes. I thought the one pass interference call,
there was some shady stuff.
Yeah, I didn't like one of these pass interference calls where New England intercepted the ball, but they said it was a simultaneous catch. I'm like, he had that ball completely in his arms when they landed, and then they just called it a catch. and then waved off the pass interference, which gave him the spot. So I thought that was weird. That was a big moment. But yeah, so I like the game. I like the game overall. I think one of these teams
Easy, man.
knocks
Take
off
care.
the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, I'm big on New England. Even though
All
with
right.
the loss, I'm still big on New England.
Even
I
though
think giving the ball to-
even though I'm the Mike Vrabel guy.
I like Mike Vrabel.
You know what I'm saying? But hey, you know what? I need you to join me real quick.
We waving to.
Bye, Chiefs. It was nice seeing you, Kansas City. Thanks for coming. So the Chiefs are gone. Going to be weird having the playoffs without them.
It is strange, but you knew it was coming. The year looked like they were going to miss it after the bye. When we were saying stuff like, "Yo, the Chiefs can't go 5-6," the Chiefs definitely gonna be 2 games above 500 before they get to the bye. The Chiefs are definitely gonna win all these games after the bye. They're definitely gonna go. We kept saying it, and it was like nothing's looking like it's happening.
You really think Chris Jones didn't know they were eliminated?
I don't know, because I thought about it 2 ways. I don't know if the Chiefs would bring it up all week long in the building as an organization. Like I don't think they would kind of spread that panic like, "Yo, listen, this is elimination game." I think they probably felt the same way we all felt. Like, "Oh, we're gonna right the ship. We're gonna right the ship 1 game at a time. Let's get because you think about it, like, okay,
you wild,
the San
Chris.
Francisco game, the San Francisco Super Bowl,
right?
When Shanahan took the ball and Mahomes was like, "Whoa," and everyone did the interview after the game. They said, Andy Reid said to us in training camp, when we go to Super Bowl, if it goes to overtime, because it was like the new rules, we're gonna play defense and get the stop, score a touchdown and win. Or if the other team scores a touchdown, we were going to score a touchdown and go for 2. So he had them prepared for that in training camp because it's like a positive thing. I don't think they were walking around the building all last week saying it was an elimination game. It just seems like if he's preparing them for like that kind of level of success, I doubt that he would be, also saying stuff like, this elimination week, we got to focus.
So I think it's a little different, and I think it depends on the team that we're talking about. Like if you're talking about a young team, like with a guy like Trevor Lawrence trying to, overcome things and match up the hype of, I can accept that approach. If you're, maybe a young team like say Denver, if they were on the brink, or New England, if they were on the brink, I can kind of see that.
Houston.
But we're talking about the Chiefs here. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like maybe that's the problem. Because remember, I brought this up when they played Jacksonville it was a long time ago now. Yeah. But I brought up like, hey, Mahomes was out there acting real warrior, like real Steph Curry, like just kind of nonchalant. Like, we know we gonna get it back. We know that we are who we are. And I think
at that point, they had been to 7 straight AFC championship games, 5 Super Bowls. They won 3 of them.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
You franchise level,
at some point you lose that urgency.
7 years.
At some point you lose that urgency, and you just rely on we gonna get
the fact that we can bounce back. We talked about that. What other team was it? I believe it was an NBA. The Heat or any team that had LeBron. It was like, oh, we know we can turn it on. Like they'd have like a couple of games where they just didn't look good. Like, yo, we know we can turn it on. We felt that way with the Golden State Warriors because they had won for so long. We can always turn it on. And I think the Chiefs felt that because they were intact. They weren't.
They weren't getting blown out.
They weren't missing any real defensive starters. So their starting lineup seemed to be pretty healthy all year. There was no. I don't think there was anyone that really missed a ton of games with like a major injury, offensively or defensively. I think Pacheco got hurt a little bit, and then you had a suspension here, but they were pretty much intact. It just wasn't gelling. Like the ramp up just wasn't happening. Like the guy wasn't getting open. The block wasn't held, without being the actual holding. But it wasn't like the blocking didn't hold up for that 3.5 seconds or that 4 seconds to get that 3rd and 17 deep over route that we know we can hit. But stuff was just breaking down. Whereas years past, it held up. That guy caught that ball. Even after the big hit, Rashee Rice will hold on to the ball. It just didn't happen this year.
Are you buying into this Joe Burrow mental health thing?
No, I think it's just, I was talking about this the other day, and I Googled it when we were watching the game. Like 9 high schools in the state of Ohio have indoor practice facilities.
Oh, here we go.
that are lined out for lacrosse, soccer, and football. 9 high schools.
Okay.
The Bengals don't have one. And these guys got to cross like a major, like they.
Hey, I know Kent State better not have one.
So these guys are walking from the facility across street. And I get it. NFL players play outside. But every once in a while, like say you have some plays you want to work on and you don't want the media there. Well, if you're outside, then you can do. But if you have an indoor facility, you can close it off and you can work on these different route combinations where you could just get better. If they didn't clean it, the stadium didn't clear the snow. I don't know if they didn't have enough warning or didn't have enough people. I remember Buffalo knew they had snow coming.
Oh, yeah, the seats.
So they asked for volunteers ahead of time. Like, listen, you come volunteer. You get here at like 4 a.m. You can get tickets to the game. We need people to help clear the seats. I just think the organization isn't proactive enough. And I could probably wear on you because he's probably expected to shoulder a lot of it. And he's getting hurt. So it's like I'm getting hurt. And every time I get hurt, the bottom falls out.
Do you think it's realistic he could ask out at some point?
I don't know what the money's looking like. And I'm not sure who's going to take on the money. I personally, listen, we got a guy down in Atlanta who wears number 9. He's currently injured. I wouldn't mind him switching to 19. And we make a move for Joe Burrow if it's on the table. If it's on the table, then I think anyone who needs to make an improvement at the quarterback position, if it's on the table, should entertain what options do we have. We never thought Micah Parsons would move. He got traded. Like, if the guy wants out of Cincinnati, we've seen it happen before with a previous, former number 1 pick and Carson Palmer.
Well, I think we might see Jamar Chase. I think we might see Jamar Chase turn into AJ Brown pretty soon, over the next, season or so. Because I don't know if Zach Taylor is going to be back, but when I look at Cincinnati, I see a team that them and Dallas are proof of. There's 2 sides of the ball, and you can't just stack your offense and think that that's going to carry the day. As I look at this, when I see Joe Burrow, I do see somebody that's disengaged. But that could just be the fact that they were 4-9 going into the game more so than any just, I guess, thing that's just there.
It was a loss last week because when they won their game, he did his interview and he was like, "Hey, we're getting paid a lot of money to play a kid's game."
So he's a sore loser?
After the loss, it was like, yeah, like I'm not saying he's a sore loser, but he definitely was a lot more optimistic coming back that first game. Where people were like, why would you come back after the injury? And he was like, listen, we're getting paid a lot of money to play a kid's game. I love playing football. And then a week later, after a loss, that joy just went away. Like, nah,
they got shut out at that. You know what I mean? At home, so that doesn't help matters either.
So after you have the joy coming back from the injury, you win and you play well. Then you lose and you have this cathartic moment at the podium where it just was like I said, we all know sometimes you got to let it out. And then you get shut out. I imagine it's going to be a lot of changes with coaching and personnel with Cincinnati. But as long as the owner, who's rumored to be one of the cheapest owners in the NFL, or the ownership group or the family, whoever's calling the shots in regards to how the money moves, if that's that big of a problem, it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, so the Cowboys got to win out too. The wild card is done for them. But they can win out, have Philly lose out if they want to make the playoffs. So I'm gonna ask you this question: What grade? Let's have an ESPN moment. What grade would you give Brian Schottenheimer for this season?
C.
Okay.
I would say a C. I would say about average. Some games in the NFL you're just gonna lose. It's just teams are prepared. A mistake here, a mistake there. You're gonna lose one or two here and there. That like people don't go undefeated. I just think they had some bad losses. They had like that stretch of poor defense was like, all right, you got to address it. We are seeing Russell Wilson go for 400 like college number yardage on you at home. So that needs to be addressed, and it wasn't addressed. It's like a few weeks. Guys came back healthy. They made a couple of moves, so on. But like, it's just they've been like an average. They perform when they perform well, it's extraordinary. But when they flop, it's like a D. So they get a bunch of A's and B's for a lot of performances, like starting off against Philly, being down like that, and then the comeback, even being down, but the comeback, that's an A. But to lose in Minnesota, to give up 34 points to a team that's averaging 20 points with a quarterback that was probably ready to be shipped out by, because I saw another meme with Joe Burrow on a Viking jersey. Because that same number 9 can get moved around. So that was something I saw like throughout the week. So for that guy to come in doing the gritty on the way to the end zone, it's like, yeah, you got to get a D for that game.
Yeah,
at home, a team that doesn't really lose at home. So yeah,
I give him a B- because Dallas has been better than I thought they would be. So I got to acknowledge that. But it goes back to
really good pieces too. It's not
they
like
don't.
It's not like the cupboard's bare.
They don't.
Look at San Francisco has injuries,
but they don't.
Deron Bland is a good corner.
They have a good.
Dallas
has an elite MVP level quarterback. They have 2 receivers that are among the best in the league.
If wide receivers, if wide receivers got MVP votes, those guys would be like.
But that's it. And they had Quentin Williams. Solid. Quentin Williams got hurt the other day or the other night, but he's been but they got nothing. And that goes back to what I was saying about Cincinnati.
I think it's more performance. I think their cupboard is more full than a lot of teams in the NFL.
I don't.
And we talked about Jadeveon Clowney said how well that Jerry treats the players and the facilities and everything else. I think they have enough pieces. You're not going to have it all, but to have that level of elite on the offensive side of the ball, I think Javonte Williams was running the ball well.
You know how sometimes I say things to you and you'll say something along the lines of like, I don't think that. I think we want to believe that or something along those lines. So when I look at Dallas, I don't think they're that talented. I just think that the media has been saying that they've been talented for the last 3 to 4 years, that people just say Dallas is talented. But I don't think they're that talented. In the division alone, you know what I mean? Obviously, Philly is the creme de la creme.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I would say that the Giants probably have better defensive pieces than Dallas does.
But they're not schematically putting like if you look, I thought that the Giants defense, it's flooded with like first round draft picks across the front of that defensive line. It's just that they don't deploy them properly because the coaching and the scheme and the players didn't match up, and then the attitude of the players and the coach getting fired. That's just a poor situation.
Bro, you sat up here for like 5 weeks shitting on Donovan Wilson.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's a coaching. I don't think he was like when he was in the right position, they were doing fine. I just think it was like he's too often in the wrong position. I don't think it was a lack of like talent. I don't think they were playing with a talent deficit. If you look at a team like San Francisco with the injuries, it's a matter like does your scheme fit your players and do your players buy into the scheme? I just feel like the Dallas team, they have the pieces, they made the trades, they made the moves, they have guys who like we talk about Deron Bland took like 5 touchdowns to the house a couple years ago. He's still a top tier corner. So it's not like they're out here scrambling with rookies everywhere or undrafted guys everywhere. They just didn't perform. I think sometimes the stage is always bright in Dallas, and just sometimes those guys just underperform in the wrong moments. They overperform against Philly. They just go over the top against some of these better teams, and then they let Minnesota just slide in and slide out with 34 points. I don't think that's a talent thing. I think that's a coaching bounce. Hence why he gets a seat.
I think that Deron Bland is a feast or famine type dude in the same way that Diggs is. You know what I mean? Like they make plays.
That seems to be the
way they give up a lot of
years.
plays too.
That seems to be the way that they've done it for so long. It's like, okay, well, this is how we do it. Do that the best, and they just weren't doing that part. Like I think that part just slack. Like Kansas City. Kansas City was like, we knew how they like. Listen, we don't run the ball much. We don't run it well, but like we got these guys. They'll get open. Mahomes will get them the ball. That was the expectation. This year, he was hitting guys in a face mask in crucial moments. Talk about the Jacksonville game. That years past, Hollywood catches that, or whoever MVS, whoever was there catches that ball. That was Hollywood that got hit in the face.
No, I know. Yeah. I'm saying he ain't catching it. No.
His hands were attached to his wrist, so in theory, he could have caught it. But like I think that's what Dallas suffered with. Is like
you know what I realized though,
it just didn't work out.
You know what I finally realized this weekend? Packers ain't going to the Super Bowl, man. Micah Parsons is out for the year. You know, he was
non-contact ACL.
Yeah, those are the worst too. Soon as he reacted, I knew exactly what it was. Like when it happened on screen, I go, ooh, you know,
I was in the kitchen.
Because it had that motion, like I think Kevin Durant said, like it felt like it feels like you got shot. He kind of had that like jump, like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was like, yeah, it's over. But yeah, I think, and of course, Christian Watson got hurt again the other day. You know, he's another guy that just stays on the injured list. You know, Jordan Love didn't play bad per se in the first half against Denver. But in the second half, you know, Bo Nix just played a great game, and I can't take anything away from him. You know, the Saints, meanwhile, done swept the Panthers.
This division makes no sense.
Bryce Young, 13 games this season. That was the 10th game that he threw for under 200 yards. And they get Tampa this week, by the way, at home.
They're going to have to make a real decision on his contract very soon. And it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, a franchise tag at this point with the money these quarterbacks are getting paid, it's probably, if I had to guess, about $52 million, maybe. I think your top 5 guys, because you got Dak at 60. Tua's over 50.
Yeah, he's at
Burrow's
50. Trevor Lawrence.
Herbert's at 50. Trevor Lawrence at 50. So it's at least 5 or 6.
Hell, Brock Purdy just got paid.
Brock Purdy's at 50. So a franchise tag for Bryce Young is about, we're gonna call it even 50.
Okay.
So they have to make decisions. It's just a weird division. Like I said, we talk about Raheem and the Falcons. Like the way that they battle back against Tampa Bay is like more reason for you to get fired. Because like, how come you don't have these guys ready like that every week? Like, right. Where's the disconnect where these guys can be ready every week? And I think Bryce Young, that's his thing. Is like, listen, you have their top 3 wide receivers are like 6'4", 6'4", and 6'3". It's like, we know you're an undersized guy, but like, get the ball out to these big targets or run the ball. You got Chuba Hubbard and you have Rico Dowdle. Like, the team collectively should be doing better, and I think he might be the piece that could be holding them back. But he plays the line, he throws for 450 yards. So it's like, you have no idea like what to do with this entire division. So
well, you know what the good news is?
Like this again next year.
The good news is, thank goodness that this is the NFL, because if this was college football, we would say Tampa and Carolina can't get in, and we're going to throw the Detroit Lions in because we got to get the best teams in, not the teams that win their divisions, the best teams.
You need a veto rule.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on, the Bears, back in the 2 seed now, granted, nothing to write home about. They beat up on the Browns the other day. So I guess the question is, are the Bears a team that we should be taking seriously as a contender?
All right, let me look at this.
Because for me, I say no.
No.
Because
because I think teams 1, 3, 5, and 6 currently, that's the Rams, the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the 49ers. I think each one of those teams can beat them simply off the youth of the Chicago quarterback and how when things kind of don't go their way, it's very evident. DJ Moore is clearly pissed. Caleb Williams is pissed. Ben Johnson is pissed. Like, their emotions are very hot and cold. I think those 4 teams could beat them. I know they beat Philly head-to-head, but I just feel like I think Philly will give them a run for the money, and if they were to meet again. I think they could beat Green Bay. As of right now, they're playing Green Bay as the current playoff picture set.
Yeah, they play them this weekend too.
But it's a division rival, so you can kind of throw, like I say, you throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks in that point. Tampa Bay is probably the only team that's currently sitting 4 that I think Chicago is definitely better than.
I think that Chicago.
That's why I can't.
I like Chicago. I like what they're doing. I like Caleb Williams' improvement so far this season. Like, he's not finished yet, but you can see the impact that Ben Johnson has had on him. But I think that Chicago, especially for such a young team, experience-wise, they're so reliant on turnovers. You know what I mean? Like, they have to have turnovers, I think, in some of these games that you're talking about, to beat the Rams or to beat, like, I don't think they can just go toe-to-toe offensively with the Rams. I don't think they can go toe-to-toe defensively with Seattle. But if you mix the turnovers in there, you got games.
Start just running the ball and eating up clock that way. But if the game's tied and it's back and forth, then guys are throwing these post routes or these.
See, the Bears would be an example.
And you're bouncing off the wide receiver's hands into your defensive back's hands. Then you have a chance.
So I don't think that Chicago is as good as Denver, but I think that Chicago needs home field in that way that we were talking about Denver earlier. Like, you need to get the Rams in the cold, maybe. You know what I mean? Get Seattle to come across and play in the cold. Get San Francisco, these California West Coast teams, get them out in the cold and see what you can do. But I don't trust Caleb Williams to play well enough to go onto the road to, get a victory like that. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see. But we'll get back to NFL later this week. Picks and more picks on Friday. But now, Mr. Logical, I remember Friday after next, the van coming down the street. Debo and Sticky Fingers hop out. This the rematch, Craig. Yeah, this the rematch, punk. Alabama is going into Norman, Gaylord Memorial Stadium, to try to get some revenge on the Oklahoma Sooners. We saw this game a few weeks ago. Alabama outgained Oklahoma by almost 200 yards. There were a lot of turnovers, 3 turnovers Alabama had that did them in. The brothers, Peyton and Eli, not Manning, Bowen. One returned a pick 6. The other one had the pass breakup that ended the game. So, Mr. Logical, that coming into this season, I picked Alabama to win the national title.
Correct.
Are they going to win this game?
Well, let me say. I was going to say no matter what your question was. I was going to say no. I like their chances if they can get the running game going and not have to rely on the pass. If they can get it going, if they just say, you know what, head against the wall, get me 3.5, 4 yards, and then maybe we'll bounce off a tackle and we'll get 14. Because the quarterback, Ty Simpson, rumor has it, some back injuries and some back pain and suffering through something. So you have to be able to run the ball. You cannot. I think he had. I watched one. I don't know if it was the Oklahoma game, but I saw a game. I think he had like 28 first half passes, like 28 to 30 first half passes. Like you can't win a game like that in December, no matter what level you are. Like you can't throw the ball that much. They got to figure out a way to run the ball. I know the Michigan coaching vacancy is still there. Yep. And it's a lot of can Michigan boosters and Larry Ellison, I guess he's like the CEO of Oracle or Google or something like that, billionaire. Can he write a big enough check that can pull Kalen Deboer from Tuscaloosa to Ann Arbor in the event that Alabama loses? We saw this happen with Lincoln Riley back in the day where it's like, hey, you know, I'm focused on coaching Oklahoma and they lost and he's on the plane the next day to USC. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's in anyone's line of sight. But you went from Nick Saban to Kalen Deboer. Nick Saban's not losing 6 games back-to-back years, losing to Georgia in the SEC championship game. Like,
I think Alabama, he would. That's why he got up out of there.
I think he just didn't feel like sitting down and negotiating with an 18-year-old about how much money they were going to get paid. I think he's just old school to the core. Like, listen, I'm not having this conversation. I got all these dealerships down here. I got Affleck, ESPN's begging to get me a job. I'm not sitting here begging some kid. Like maybe that's maybe he should have done it. They would have probably been, better off because kids still want to go to Alabama. But maybe he just was like, listen, I see the writing on the wall. I don't want to have to deal with this. I'm old. Let me just let my money be, it's flowing in a little easier. But Mateer was coming off the injury with the broken hand. He had one bad game before that. I don't know. I think they beat him in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's probably not. I don't think people thought they should have been in. I kind of halfway thought they were going to be out with the 3 losses. I say all to say this. I'm going to take Alabama just because the last game they still had a chance to win and they played pretty poorly in like critical moments and still had a chance to win at the end of the game. I'm not sure if Oklahoma can to match that. So I'm going to take Alabama on the road. I know it's probably not a wise pick, but I'm going to take Alabama on the road.
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at this game, right? Like, I'm a big believer in matchups. And when they played the first time, even though I picked Alabama to win, one of the things that I told you was OU just matches up with them well, defensively. OU's defense can dictate what Alabama's offense does. With Ty Simpson being compromised, if you will, that brings concerns. But little known secret, as bad as Alabama runs the ball, Oklahoma's just as bad. Oklahoma barely had over 200 yards in that game. They won that game by 2 points, and they had the 3 turnovers, including the pick 6 that we talked about. 17 of the 23 points that they had in that game came off of turnovers. So that's where you get into that variance of if you're Alabama, we can't let Oklahoma have short fields. We got to make them prove that they can go the length of the field against us. Now, where I think OU gets into a little bit of trouble is that I think that's the only way that OU can beat Bama. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I think Bama can beat Oklahoma in a bunch of different ways. I think Alabama's defense is not quite as good, but it's not that far off. But if it's a shootout, that favors Bama. You know what I mean? Because we haven't seen Oklahoma prove that they can do this on a consistent level. They're 93rd in the nation out of 136 teams in yards per play. So that goes back to the make them go up the field. And if you're Bama, try to hold on to the ball as long as you can and make them have to press when they do get the ball.
If they're in the Big 12, are they even in the playoff?
I doubt it. Jam Miller, hopefully he's back. It sounds like he might be. But where Bama might get in trouble is LT Overton might not get back. Their stud defensive lineman might not be back. Ryan Williams, we haven't seen him all year. Got milk ad. Remember, he came into the season right next to Jeremiah Smith, saying as far as hype-wise. And
on the
these
cover
are the best
of the video game.
Right. You know what I mean? And where has he been? Brett Venables, Oklahoma didn't play in the SEC championship game. So he's had an extra week to game plan for you and look back at that tape from that game where Ty Simpson shredded up the defense, and now he can attack Ty Simpson in different ways. Where I'm going to lean on Alabama, though, is the experience. Kalen Deboer just made the national title game at Washington 2 years ago. I think he's the better coach, going back to your point about the NFL. I think DeBoer is the better coach in this situation. So I'm going to pick Alabama, and I think the game is going to be around the same score as it was last time. I'm going to call it 20-17. And Alabama, you got one job. Locate Isaiah Satana. Find him, locate him. Don't let him get over him. Yes.
Somebody on the top, somebody underneath.
In the last four in the last 4 games, to your point about Ty Simpson, I think there is some validity to this injury talk, because in his last 4 games, remember we were talking about they went 2-2. One of the wins was against the FCS team.
FCS team, yep.
58.3 completion percentage in those 4 games for Alabama.
Very low for college.
Yes.
That's low for the NFL. That's extremely low for college.
Yes. So I think that Bama's going to come into this game outside of Overton and a few other pieces, but I think they're going to be relatively more healthy than they've been in quite some time. I just think they're the better team. I think Oklahoma has a matchup advantage, but I'm going to go with the better team. So give me Bama.
Alabama, just use your advantage that you have up front. You always have a stud offensive line. You get big tight ends. You always have big backs. Get them the ball. Get them on the edge where it's like, because what I was noticing that last Oklahoma game, they were running a lot of stuff in between the tackles, and it just wasn't working. And there was a couple of plays where they had like a little toss or a stretch play to the outside, and you're getting your running back on the edge. Get him on the edge where it's like he's meeting a linebacker in space or a safety coming downhill, because they weren't getting anything between the tackles. And I just felt like they would go back between the tackles and not get anything. And now with 2nd and 11, now you're throwing incomplete pass, 3rd and 11. You're definitely throwing on 3rd down. So
and Bama
get on the edge. There was a few times where guys could have bounced it, but if they get their better, more natural, more fluid running back in the game, he'll see that, make that adjustment, bounce it to the outside, get your 8 to 10 yards you need, and just kind of keep Oklahoma on their heels a little bit more. Then maybe we get a Ryan Williams sighting over the top.
And Bama done had to listen to assholes like me, for the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, saying that they shouldn't be in the playoffs. So, I believe that can be used as fuel and motivation as well. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think we belong? Watch this. You know what I mean? And it's a team that we have the revenge factor against.
Yes.
So, so I think it just lines up for Bama. Then in my neck of the woods, a little bit further to the east, we got the Aggies bringing in the Canes on Saturday morning, 11 o'clock local kickoff time, because they didn't want this game to go up against the NFL. So here we are taking away A&M's advantage of a nighttime home game. A&M, that game against Texas was a long time ago. Those guys been sitting around chomping at the bit to get back on the field. Mr. Logical, do you think Miami can take their gift and cash it in College Station?
Well, unfortunately, what we said about Notre Dame is also true about Miami. Their schedule wasn't very tough. Granted, Notre Dame had the better losses. I know that's a phrase that you love. So I'm not sure if Miami's been tested enough other than their win over Notre Dame that didn't make the playoff. Uh Carson was Carson Beck big moment. Is he ready for that moment? Is the did the loss to Texas and the 2 weeks since then reset Texas A&M because they were on such a run? Because sometimes, like you professional athletes talk about it all the time, and even coaches say, like, sometimes you need like a loss so you can refocus. So not only did the loss, they got the refocus. They didn't have to play in the SEC championship game. They were still pretty much locked into the college football playoff. Just funny that they fell all the way down to 7 and Oklahoma's at 8, but it's just however they rank it, they rank it. So I think it's gonna be bad news for Miami. I'm not sure Miami was even really preparing to even be in the playoff because they weren't going to be in the ACC championship game. They had, pretty much easy schedule down the stretch. They won their games. They was kind of sitting back. Whereas I think A&M felt like we are one of the better teams in the SEC, even though like you say, you outline all the time that they didn't have to play the other juggernauts in the SEC and they still made the playoffs. So yeah, I think that loss where people felt like they could have been the number one team in the country, because I think if they win and they would have played an SEC championship game, they would have been number one over Indiana, even though Indiana would have beaten number one Ohio State. So I believe the coach.
I don't know. That's tough.
You don't think so? You don't think they would have jumped? Texas A&M would have played who? They would have played Georgia in the SEC championship game?
They would have played Bama.
They would have played Bama. So if they would have beat Bama, yeah, I think they would have moved to number one. I think they would just, yeah, I believe so.
I don't know.
And it would have been tough as all hypothetically. If it was a fifth, we all be drunk. But I like Texas A&M in this game. It's early, but you got a team that's probably been sitting around for 2 weeks waiting to get back to action.
So I think that so when I think about this game, of course, you brought it up the other day. This is all Notre Dame had to do was beat one of us bowl, So Miami comes in with a top 10 defense against the run, so we'll have to see how healthy Le'Veon Moss is for A&M. Can he even go? Is he going to go? Who's going to be the better player in this game? Cassius Howell or Ruben Bain? But also Ruben Bain's got Akeem Mesidor coming with him as well. A&M's had a long time to stew on this Texas loss. You know what I mean? And it just serves as a reminder that no matter how good you are, you still can't fuck with daddy. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that's been all over the campus for the last couple of weeks. What surprised me, Mr. Logical, is that Texas A&M has only forced 9 turnovers this whole season. That's weird for a team that's sitting at 11-1. And going back to your point, now that they lost to Texas, take away the Notre Dame win, and I think everything you said about Miami applies to A&M. You know what I mean? They went down, what was it, 31-0 to South Carolina, whatever it was, and but they came back from that. But that was the only resistance they really had this year. They had a tough game against Auburn, but Auburn, wasn't good.
The muscle, yeah.
Yeah. Carson Beck, this game is going to come down to what he has between his ears. The decision making. They lost the game to Louisville. He had 4 interceptions. He threw the bad interception in overtime against SMU. But then Marcel Reed, on the other hand, when he played against Texas a couple of weeks ago, we saw, he is human. He is flawed. He will throw picks or he will make bad plays too. You just have to have the defense. That's
where you looked human versus Carson Beck's history of just being.
I know, but just going back to the point of
like never being the guy.
But that's going back to the point of A&M not being tested and, not having this tough schedule.
Miami hasn't been tested either, but yet
I know.
Poorly. He played poorly in games they should have won, and then they weren't tested in the rest of them. So it's like, and then just historically, his collegiate history, I don't think there's a moment. I think Gunnar Stockton and Stetson Bennett are probably not as NFL prototype quarterbacks, but they've had more moments at Georgia than Carson Beck did while he was there.
Well, we also have to remember last year when he was at Georgia, Georgia led the nation in drops too. You know what I mean? That's a thing that happened. So, we got to acknowledge that.
Yeah, you gotta acknowledge. I just sometimes some guys I just don't feel like really like rise to that moment. I believe he's just one of those. I think he's gonna throw one or two bad picks to a team that doesn't have that many turnovers on a season.
Well, and then I want to see if Keontae Scott is going to play because him lining up in the nickel gives Miami an advantage, I think. But, you got Casey Concepcion on one side, Mario Craver on the other side. The punt returns are going to be an issue for Miami possibly. But you know what? I'm going to keep it, as a wise man once told me, keep shit simple. So I'm going to take the team with the better offensive line. I'm going to take the team with the better defensive line. They happen to be the same team. So give me the Canes. I'm going with the Canes. So, but while we're here, Mr. Logical, we got this nice little smoky bracket in front of us. So why don't you tell me who your national champion is? And no, South Carolina and Florida are not acceptable answers.
Oh yeah, that's it. But Penn State, Penn State was my team that was going to represent. It's I like what Indiana did against Ohio State.
Yeah.
But as all the Ohio State games that I watched, and they talked about Julian Sand and his completion percentage, I never felt like his throws were like post routes against cover 2 where you got to squeeze it in there. I just felt like a lot of his routes were just guys running open on drag routes, out routes, just throwing it up, not necessarily just throwing it up, but it's like one-on-one coverage. My guy's better than yours. Or Carnell Tate beating the guy off the line from the slot. And it's like a nickel corner can't cover a guy who's probably going to go in the top 6 in the NFL draft. So I just never really felt like he was like their impact guy. And he was like the reason that they were winning games. So I think a really good team like Indiana kind of exposed, like, okay, you guys aren't as dynamic as your record shows. So I'm kind of out on them as potential national championship contenders. Georgia's always got to give them a shot. Kirby Smart's been there. We talk about that beatdown they put on TCU a few years back, and he seems to always be in the mix every year with his team. So I like that. And his matchup is going to be Tulane or Ole Miss. Ole Miss without their coach, they coached them all year, or Tulane if they happen to just sneak by Ole Miss, is they're at a talent deficit. I don't think Alabama or OU could beat Indiana. I think Indiana just has like their defense was just flying around the plays they were making against Ohio State, even outside of like Julian saying, like just being able to cover the way they were covering. And their red zone defense was top tier. I'm thinking somebody out of that top, that Texas Tech, Oregon. I just think that path. I think Oregon, Texas Tech. I think that's a toss up. You can get you get your playoff semifinal with Indiana. I don't know how far A&M's. It's Georgia, Indiana, Georgia wins. I don't know.
So
I think the potential for Georgia to play 2 SEC schools, the familiarity, you don't have to overly game plan. You probably recruited some of these kids. Some of these guys probably transferred from your school there. Just having that, just knowing the staff and knowing what these guys do because you're in the same conference, I think it might make it an easier run for them to the championship. But I think Indiana takes care of business against Oregon or Texas Tech, but Georgia gets them in the end.
All right, so I'm actually going to take Bama to beat Oklahoma, like I said.
Yes.
I'm going to take Bama to upset Indiana. And then that's the end of the road for Bama. I got Ohio State and Georgia matching up in the semifinal. And I'm going to take Ohio State there. So my national title game, I'm going to end up with Ohio State against Oregon. And I'm going to take the Buckeyes to repeat as champion.
Ohio State, Oregon. What do the executives want to see?
The executives probably want Georgia Bama.
Bama? That's what I was thinking. I was like, is that what they want?
Or Ohio State Bama, probably.
That would that would do numbers. Indiana and anyone. I don't think the thing with Indiana that
what if
they're
we got
undefeated.
They're
undefeated, so it's like they haven't had their bad. Like they had the bad game against Penn State, but a guy dragged a toe and scored. But I just feel like undefeated teams that aren't normally undefeated, they tend to falter in like that semifinal,
right,
championship game. Like it just they don't run the table.
I think I would, if it were up to me, just me being
Your
the person
TV
that I
guy
am.
Or person you are.
The person that I am.
5 guy.
I would go with A&M and Texas Tech. That would be the game that I want. You know what I mean? Just because it's an old rivalry that doesn't get played a lot. You know, it's probably when you look at the sides of the bracket that they're on, as far as the big name teams, they're probably the teams that people don't want to see play.
Correct.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Your old school rivalry.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? Like, I would love to see Ole Miss make a run. Like, even if they don't get to the title game, I think I would like to see Ole Miss get to the semis just for the story. You know what I mean?
I truly, this is not even like just me being like I would really love to see JMU beat Oregon.
I would love to see JMU beat Oregon too, but I think Tulane is more likely just because they've played Ole Miss once already this year. You know, they got their doors blown off, but it was early in the season, got off to a slow start. It was at Ole Miss. Now running that on a neutral, actually it's still an Ole Miss. It's actually an Ole Miss, but
yeah. So they're down. They're like they have a Louisiana team. They have that region's talent on their team.
Right.
I think I don't know. Like JMU's Twitter has been posting like funny clips like of guys like running routes, saying like, how's Oregon going to be able to contend with this guy? And it's like a tight end running like a slant route or something.
Yeah, I think that
they might just be happy to be there, but I think it would be. I would love for them to be able to like.
So I think that the thing is, it could look a lot like the Alabama-Cincinnati game, the playoff game where Alabama just knew they could run on Cincinnati, so they just ball controlled them to death. And I think the final was like 28-6 or something like that. I can see it being something like that.
It was like 27-10. It was something where it was like, you thought it would be 42-10 because it's right, but it was like,
but here's the other.
They can't contend with us up front.
Here's the other missing pieces though that we haven't speaking about yet. All these different coaches on the move, right? So
JMU's coaches on the
JMU coaches going to UCLA, Tulane's coaches going to Florida, but then you got A&M's offensive coordinator is going to become the head coach at Kansas State. You know what I mean? So recruiting maybe what's going on there.
Didn't both coordinators get jobs, right?
As far as I'm
coordinators.
Both Oregon coordinators actually. Yeah. Yes, Will Stein is going to take over at Kentucky, and Lapoy is going to take over at Cal. Tosh Lapoy is going to take over at Cal.
Kalen Deboer in that rumors for Michigan job. I think that's I don't believe like the rumors, but it's like if they believe Michigan deserves a splash head coach, which I think they should deserve to be punished for a year for I mean, violating rules for the last 5 years. You think maybe we put a real infraction on them, just throwing it out there. But
even at Ohio State, you got Brian Hartline taking over South Florida. So you know what I mean?
Is he on the phone with recruits all week, or is he in the iPad sending plays to the wide receivers like, hey, I want you guys to study these?
I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
How much time does he have in a day? How much time is
But that's something that I want to see. I want to see the teams that have coaches leave, and I want to see how they look. I want to see, like, if you can see if they look a little wonky, if you will, just look.
You have to spend some time. Whereas, like, right now, if you are A&M's head coach, all you are looking at is Miami film. That's
right.
It. Have like maybe some guys transfer in and out. Maybe you designate someone to kind of handle those conversations until you get a moment. But if you are the JMU head coach, you got to look at your next team. You're definitely talking to someone, a realtor about your moving location, your family about getting from one place to the next place, schools. Like you're having other conversations that are outside of your current employer that you have to have during the day because it's business day. Like, getting your kids set up in hospital, whatever the case may be. Like, you have to spend some time handling that. Whereas, like, I'm an A&M's coach. All I'm worried about is Miami Hurricanes and Carson Beck. How do I stop him?
So, what's up with these overtime rules?
The overtime rules. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So I watched the Celebration Bowl, the Cricket Celebration Bowl. I love how, like, these corporate tags just throwing it on there. I guess they've been a big donator to HBCUs for like the last 4 or 5 years. So shout out to Cricket. South Carolina State versus Prairie View A&M. South Carolina State down 21-0 at the half. Storm back, tie the game up. Great game, back and forth. And it gets to overtime. I don't like the overtime rule because it's like, if there's parameters that get you a winner and it just takes long, it takes long. Like, don't make it comical. You made a great game comical at the end. So if it's from the 25-yard line and if you score, because I like the old rules was like you had to go for 2 if you scored after the second overtime. Back in the day, I think that was the rules. Like, so 25-yard line, both
teams.
Yeah,
the rule just changed to now in 2021.
Yeah, so this alternating 2-point conversions, I hate it so much. And I hate the fact that I was watching the game on my phone, so I had it on mute because I was in the store. But I watched the game up to that point when I had to leave. I don't think he got in.
He did not get in.
He stuck his left hand out with no ball in it, and then he was out of bounds. And I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, he didn't get in. I watched the tackle live, like my phone stopped. I'm like, he didn't get in. And then the ref threw his hands up. It's like, yo, he stuck his left hand out with no ball in it. And the corner was visibly upset because he's like, he knew he made that was probably the play of the game. But for some reason, I don't know why, but NCAA replay booth just gets it wrong even with the replay. So I didn't like that. And then I didn't like the play call, but I just don't like the alternating 2-point conversions. I don't like the get up, get down, get up, get down aspect of it. Like, there's no rhythm. Football, you need a rhythm. Like, I can't have you run one play, and then it took a long time. It takes a very long time to get from they set the play up, it goes to commercial, they reset the ball, they run the other play, it goes to another commercial. It took forever to get to that point. It's like, it's not fluid. Just go back to the 25-yard line and say you have to go for 2 after a touchdown. That's it. These alternating 2-point conversions is what you would do in 3rd grade recess when you knew you only had a few minutes left before the bell was going to ring. You had to go back in. It wasn't fitting for the caliber of the game. And think about this.
And it was a championship game at that.
Championship game, national championship game, widely televised, starting off the bowl season with a great game, and to give it this comical ending with a mistake by a referee, a mistake by people in the booth, to a process that was just flawed. Imagine Indiana and Indiana and Oregon in the champ. I don't know if they could be Indiana, Georgia in the championship game, and they go to alternating 2-point conversions to decide the national champion. After all of the BS when it comes to just selecting these 12 teams really only at random, because it's like the only real rule they have is top five conference winners. It's like seems like the only rule and stipulation. Everything else is,
Yeah, as we see fit.
yeah.
No, see, I don't like the college overtime rule.
And like that, I'd hate it.
I don't like the college overtime rule at all. Like, I don't like the start from the 25. You know what I mean? Like, you basically handing points to some degree. You know what I mean? Like, maybe start from midfield. Or how about this for a novel concept? Play some football. Yeah, just play some damn football. And it's not just college.
One thing I like certain aspects of college being different than the NFL. I think that I don't like that, when you're down, if you're down, you're down by contact. But I like that fact that it's different.
Well,
I
let me start from the 50
college.
I don't like the 1 foot, but let me start from the 50. You know what I'm saying? At least make me get a couple of first downs. You know what I mean? Versus, oh, hey, we gained 4 yards. Well, I guess we'll kick this 38-yard field goal or whatever. Not that that's like guaranteed or anything by any means, but still, you know what I'm saying? I don't even like the NFL's overtime. I want sudden death back. You know what I mean? Like the game is about offense and defense. If you can't get a stop, you don't deserve to win.
I liked it if you scored a touchdown. Well, that was weird too.
Yeah, if you scored a touchdown, it was over. But if it was a field goal, it continued.
I say you deserve a shot.
And I don't like 10 minutes either in NFL overtime. I don't like the 10 minutes either. Yeah, just play 15. Another quarter.
Yeah, because just play the 15 minutes. It's not like player safety is leveraging these extra 5 minutes. Most of the times you won't even get to it. But I think both teams getting the ball it's not absurd. It's absurd the way it came about and how these rules are changing when a certain team loses.
Right.
Hence why I think the pressure's on them, because, like, listen, you lost, we changed the rules. Came back, you lost again. You lost, we changed another rule.
Yeah.
You can't come out here and lose again. But, like, literally,
playoff is doing, right? Like, hey, we don't like this result, so we're going to add this rule next year. Like, oh, we got to get Notre Dame into the top 12. Or like, hey, we got to, what? Now that we got 2 G5s in here, that shit ain't happening again.
Tell the other teams to perform. Everybody's get their opportunity, but yeah, I thought the way you can keep that 2-point alternating 2-point conversion for a game on October 6th, national championship game. I needed to be decided with real football rhythm, because you had a team that went for 2. So South Carolina State went for 2, didn't get it. So Prairie View went for 2, didn't get it. South Carolina State went for 2, didn't get it. Then it alternates. So now South Carolina State gets another play, basically. So like their offense stays on the field, basically still somewhat in rhythm. They didn't leave the field. They stayed on the field. They got another play call. That one got in. And then Prairie View came back on the field to try their play. So it was like a lot happened in between that, a lot of time, a couple of commercial breaks. Whereas meanwhile, you gave one team 2 bites at the apple back to back, and the other team had to separate.
Well, it reminds me of a couple of years ago. There was a game between Illinois and Penn State up in Happy Valley. They did this alternate 2-point conversion thing. The final score of that game was 20-18, and it was 9 overtimes.
Like, just
it's silly.
25-yard line, you would have kicked the field goal, because Prairie View had a chance. The guy missed the field goal. So, like, at least, and I think going back and forth 2-point conversions, I'm not sure how that clearly determines a winner over the 25-yard line with like real tangible football action, where it's like You get your 4 downs, first down, penalties. Because like, what's the likelihood of you getting a penalty on a 2-point conversion? You know, it's like, just like you can't even like really work. You can't even work like real concepts there. It's just I don't know. I just think the whole thing cheapened the way, especially the type of game it was. Literally, you had a player carry his teammate off the field, hand him over to the trainer, run back to the huddle, run his route, and catch the ball for a first down. It was like it was chaos, and I was loving it. But like the way it ended, I just was like it just was unfair. It was unfair to the effort that all those young men put out. I don't know. I just don't like. I think that for me, because it was like HBCU, I don't know if it'll get the visibility to where people are going to be bothered by it because people probably don't really know that that's the national championship game for HBCU. But if it happens in one of these playoff games where Georgia's out because some 2-point conversion trickery, and Miami's goes on because like I just, or like Tulane just happens to go on. They're like,
Right.
We should never let this happen. It'll change then. But we know how that goes.
And just real quick, so Mr. Logical knows, he tells me all the time, like, hey, you know what? You remind me of Joel Klatt sometimes. And let me tell you why I am not like Joel Klatt. So he's out here making this argument about how March Madness is a bad sport because the best teams aren't there and like we select all these teams, so on and so forth. Here's the thing. There are 136 FBS teams. At one point, we were using 4 to select a champion. Now we're up to 12. In college basketball, there's something like 363 teams, and we select 68. Now, Joel Klatt, what you said would make sense if Wichita State had won the national title, if George Mason had won the national title. Butler and Duke was one of the greatest moments in college sports history. Duke still won the game. But that shot that Gordon Hayward took at the end that almost went in.
Science said it was like a half inch lower, it goes in.
That would have been one of the greatest moments in sports history
but Butler went back to the championship game the next year. So even as a small school, they still battled their way back through.
And guess what? They built their way up to be in the Big East now. You know what I mean? So like this is the thing. Like, you know what I mean? These teams like UCF, Cincinnati, that we tried to keep out of the playoffs, we finally let Cincinnati in. They're in the Big 12 now. Those opportunities wouldn't be there if everybody took the attitude of we have to have all the best teams. Because what? In college basketball, if you think the best teams aren't getting there, are we really crying and spilling milk because a 19-13 Virginia Tech team didn't make the NCAA tournament? Are we really upset that a 6-12 in the SEC Georgia team didn't make the NCAA tournament? If the answers to those questions are yes, then you're just talking just to say words.
Yeah. The NCAA tournament, you realistically, the 68 teams that make it, what are you giving? About 8 to 10 of them a real shot to win it all. We just got to win 6 games in a row.
Yeah.
You don't need all the names.
7 if you play in the first 4, but Yeah.
So the NCAA tournament has a very unique place in sports because you don't need to know anything about college basketball. You can just walk around your office. You can give a random person who didn't even know March Madness was a thing and say, hey, pick who you think's going to win all the way through. And you can have someone like you who loves college sports, and then you can put these brackets in, and that person will have more wins than you in the first round because he's like, oh, I like the way that this, I like the color of this emblem.
I like the mascot.
I like the mascot. This FIU mascot looks kind of cool. I think they're going to win. I think this Notre Dame ND looks kind of cool. I think they're going to win. And they move them on. They move all these teams on. So a national champion looks like a national champion for the better part of the season. Definitely the latter part. So you're gonna come into these final tournaments or these rankings or these opportunities to join these playoffs with the requisite record to be there. You shouldn't need someone to lobby for you to get into a championship round. Like if you're on the outside looking into the point where, like last year we talked about it with South Carolina, Bama, and Ole Miss. It's like, yes, we get you guys are great programs and you produce great NFL talent and you're in a great conference. But collectively, the three of you lost 9 games.
Right.
So, and to each other. So it's like you can't just say, oh, yeah, but that doesn't count because they're good too. It's like the parameters are set. You guys on the outside. That is perfectly fine for you to be on the outside because if you are a championship team, you win those games. I know college used to be like with the BCS, you had to go undefeated, and then the teams you beat had to beat some other teams. So that strength of schedule math, I still don't know what that math is. It's probably the same math they use to get to the moon, and they got rid of both of those equations.
Right.
So you can't clamor for an opportunity after the fact when you said, like you said, you're 19-13 and a 25-6 Drake team out of, I believe they're based out of Indiana.
They're in Iowa.
Yeah, so like they go 25-6, or like the Indiana State Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like they should have got an opportunity over an ACC team that was 18-12 or 18-14.
Right.
Like I don't care about the RPI, the IPI, the SEI, or the OSI, whatever these codes are they using to try to boost up these teams. Like, listen, these teams and other conferences, it's just basketball. It's not football where it's like, oh, yes, the Alabama offensive line is definitively bigger than, we'll use Kent State. Like they probably have more football talent on Bama. So it's probably going to be, if you have a guy that can score and you have a guy that can defend and you have a guy that can control the floor as a basketball team and you have a great scheme, you can beat anybody.
You know what that sounds like? Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. The San Antonio Spurs knocked OKC off their perch the other night. That was a hell of a game, Mr. Logical. I have to say, that's probably one of the best regular season games that I've watched in a very long time. Like
I caught the last part of it. I think I caught like the last couple of minutes. I just was busy. It was about 12 minutes long though.
And with all that, I know. And with all that being said, I still don't like the NBA Cup because that being the NBA Cup had nothing to do with it. And you know who agrees with me? Giannis Antetokounmpo. You should have saw how he handled winning the NBA Cup last year. He said, we ain't accomplished nothing. The goal ain't done yet. So whoever wins this game tonight between the Knicks and the Spurs, don't matter if you ain't raising the trophy.
I don't think the NBA cares about the NBA Cup as much as they say, unless it just happened to be this is college football playoff weekend. I don't know if they could have scheduled it differently so where they would have a Friday or Saturday night, because like this is a basketball game in Vegas on a Tuesday. Yeah. I know Vegas on a Tuesday is cheaper than Vegas on a Saturday. And if you're trying to schedule a conference, like a teacher's conference or your company outing, yeah, you'd want to fly in on Sunday or Monday and get these cheap rates. But it's like, if you're having something this big, like your NBA Cup, having it on a Tuesday is kind of weird. I figure you would have figured out some kind of way to at least have it on Friday night.
Sounds like I know it sounds like starting next year, they're going to keep the semifinals at the home arenas and then only have the final in Vegas. So we'll see if they shift it. We'll see if they shift it around.
That's silly. That's silly because like if you have all the teams in Vegas, you can have the showcases, you can have, people meet the play. Like you can make a spectacle of it because Vegas, for what it's worth, is a spectacle city. You just do outlandish stuff like pay $900 for bottle service just because it's Vegas. Like,
right.
So like if you're going to have this thing, I don't know. I really need to get a job in like public relations. I need to call the NBA. Like, listen, man, I got these degrees. Just go ahead and hire me because like you guys' planning is like they just think so small. Like, if you're gonna do it big. Hell, I would make it bigger. I'd have 8 teams in Vegas for a couple of days.
Man, just party it up, huh?
I'd have it. Yeah, I'd make it a spectacle because you're in the transition time of the year where college football is finishing up their playoff. It's cold. It's a lot of people spending nights in. Not a lot of people standing outside trying to go to bars and deal with stuff like that. So it's like a lot of people spending nights in. Basketball's on all week long. You can be funneling great basketball into people's homes every single day, getting these new names of these players out there and really showcasing. The Spurs are a formidable opponent this year. They're a
They
young
are.
team. Um, they have young international stars. They have young American stars. They got rookie of the year. So they have they have players that you can showcase. Their legacy franchise. We talk about Popovich, Tim Duncan, their 5 championships. So I just feel like the NBA is missing opportunity to like really showcase. The cup is supposed to showcase, but it's like you got it mixed in between Monday Night Football, Thursday night NFL, college football playoffs. Like you have to do something to just kind of really make that stand out to where people are like, oh, the NBA Cup is on this weekend, or make people want to come to Vegas this weekend, like a very similar to like an All-Star weekend kind of vibe.
Yeah. So speaking of Giannis Antetokounmpo, since I invoked his name earlier, you got 3 of 4 teams that his name has been mentioned with that made the semifinals this year. So I think those teams are all right, But with that being said, the Milwaukee Bucks lost by 45 to the Nets the other day. I mean, granted, Giannis wasn't there, but still, why is Doc Rivers still there?
Maybe they're waiting to the new year for tax purposes. Yeah, if you're an NBA team losing by 45, that's tough to do. It's easier to lose by 45 in a football game than it is in the basketball because you get the ball right back. You get the ball right back, and then you get in the scoring position. Like you have to get to an area where you can score the ball. Like they don't have to allow you in, but you can easily get close enough to the rim to where you get an opportunity to score. And for you to not score and the other team scores 45 more points than you, when that team is full of guys who are just castaways, that shows a lack of effort, lack of connection to the sport. And there needs to be changes. It might just need to be one of those things where, like, you know what? Sorry, fans, we're tearing it down to the studs, and we're going to rebuild. So whatever deal you can get for Giannis, make a good deal, package his brother in there with it, send him to Orlando or send him to San Antonio or send him to Phoenix, send him wherever you can get the best deal you can get, regardless of where he wants to go. You respect it. Like, listen, thank you for bringing a championship here, but once you go to somebody else's team, I don't care how good they are. You make them better. Goodbye. Have fun in Toronto or wherever you end up.
So did you see that we got Dillon Brooks poking bears part 66?
He's unnecessarily obnoxious when he could just be cool. Like he can we already know that's your thing. Because even Draymond is kind of obnoxious, but Draymond doesn't like. I don't know. I just feel it feels a little bit more organic with Draymond. It's still obnoxious, still annoying, but Draymond gets on TV and shows like a different personality, like a more calm, reserved basketball fan personality when he's up there with Shaq and Chuck when he was doing those things, or he's on his podcast, is on the Colin Cowherd network or whatever. So he gets to show, this is my on-court persona. This is how I intensely play basketball. I'm an undersized power forward. I always have been. But this is my personality off the court. You put a microphone at Dillon Brooks' face or you get him on Twitter, he just seems obnoxious still. Like, yo, dog, you don't turn it off? Like, turn it off. Like, this is just basketball. Basketball's over. Like, you keep poking these guys at, like, we talked about KD and his money investment. KD's like worth like $1 billion off of like investments because of his time he spent in the NBA and uses money wisely. LeBron, same way, $1 billion lifetime shoe deal with Nike. He's like, yeah, you can compete with these guys, but at some point, the NBA stuff's going to stop. You break a toe too many times, you might not be on the roster. Now you done burned all these bridges being obnoxious for what? Teams don't pay you more money to be obnoxious.
I guess he's just trying to bring rivalry back. That's the only thing I can come up with. And he seems like, I know he's over the top, but he just goes extra when it's LeBron on the other side. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, you got LeBron out here, saying getting teased and touching on refs and not getting ejected. Like, it was just a mess. Like, it was just one of those things where, like, the contact was very minimal. So I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it and make it sound like LeBron was out here manhandling the ref or anything like that. But I'm almost 95% sure that if Dillon Brooks had that same reaction with the ref that LeBron did,
he's tossed.
He'd have got thrown out right then and there.
Shade.
That's my problem with the NBA. Get rid of superstar calls and non-calls.
Every organization. Like I said, Emmitt Smith, you fall asleep, you nudge him. The other guy falls asleep, you cut him.
These dudes are wild, saying, but the Suns are a lot better, than they have any business being. I don't know if they're going to be a factor for too long down the road, but we had the Nuggets knock off the Rockets last night. They play on Saturday as well. Ime Udoka out there talking about how the refs were starstruck, how, a couple of them shouldn't even be there. How are the Nuggets doing this?
I think they just have a system. They have a system that works. They understand it. Everybody understands their role. And they're just a good, like, basketball is easy. Leave your emotions and the BS off the court and you just simply execute whatever your game plan is, guys are getting open looks, open layups. You get the defense out of position. You're going to get easy foul calls, and then you're going to be getting opportunities to score the basketball. We've seen teams just basically fall apart off some randomness because they're so focused on arguing with the ref. Like Mike Conley Jr. has been in the league, 16 years or something crazy like that? Doesn't have one tech.
Like that.
Doesn't have one tech. Luka can't go one quarter without getting one, and as soon as the season starts, Draymond gets his out of the way early because they know they're less likely to give him a second one and kick him out of the game. So it's just a matter of like how do you want to play this game,
right?
And I think when you just stay focused to the system and the system, the core of the system is winning and execution, then you'll be fine. That's why teams are all like. That's why the Spurs were always in the playoffs. Tim Duncan wasn't that much physically imposing in Shaq. But anytime he matched up with Shaq, he just understood, okay, boom, angles here. This guy's going to cut here. This guy's not looking over his shoulder here. Rick Fox is out of position. They just understood where people were going to be on the court. They move the ball and they get shots. These other teams are so self-centered that it slows down. We've seen it plenty of times. The ball stops with one guy, and that guy's not looking to deliberately get somebody open off the play call, not just off a fancy dime in the corner behind the back. Like Jokic is at the top of the key waiting for the pin down screen over here so he can throw this pass to whoever's cutting to the hoop so they can get an easy layup. Like that's the whole point. Like that's the whole point while I'm out here is to make sure I get myself a good look, get these other guys good looks, and then get the rebound and we're running.
Are Ja Morant and Zion Williamson the most cursed 1-2 draft picks ever?
I don't know. I keep the main thing. But yeah, it might be the worst. Yeah, it might be the worst. Like, I was always injured in him. And I think his injuries come from playing style.
Mm-hmm.
Like you saw him trying to dunk on Kevin Love again. And it's like, dog, just shoot the floater. Shoot the floater before you actually make this dunk. And then now your hand is pulled up crazy, and then now you fall again.
Yeah, you messing up your trade value, man. You know what I'm saying? Memphis probably trying to get a deal for you, and you out here playing around hurting ankles.
Yeah. So
You know what
I
I'm
don't
saying?
know. It's a bad look.
So I know we talk about this fairly often, more so the actual, ESPNs and people like that of the world.
Yeah.
Trae Young got to go, right? Because the Hawks defense is just playing too well right now. And
The 6 foot guard is about to be extinct in the NBA. It's there unless you can shoot from 27 feet consistently and you're coming off the bench. The era of the six, because you're getting Cooper Flag is, you know how NBA is, somewhere between 6'8" and 6'10".
Okay.
And he has point guard he'll have point guard opportunities and skills. He might not be your primary point guard, but he has the kind of skills that you can run the offense through. So if he's 6'8", bringing the ball up, and then you have, your wing defenders 6'6" to 6'8", and then your post guys are 6'11", 7 foot. Where's Trae Young in that defensive scheme? Like,
right.
who's he switching on to? Who is he guarding Cooper Flag? Well, I'm calling ISO and I'm backing him down. So if you do get the switch, he's switching on to a guy that's 6'7" and is bigger and stronger. Because it's not like this. Like, I think Donovan Mitchell, I think he has listed like 6'3" or 6'4", but he's like a stocky guy. So even at 6 foot, I think he'd be able to match like the kid Davion Mitchell, the one who went to Baylor, undersized guy, but he was like, he's like a running back. I think he can fight through and he can, really impact. But just being a 6 foot guard that needs the ball in his hand and I think that guy is slowly going to be kind of phased out of the NBA. Your point guard's now going to be 6'4", 6'5".
Well, and Cooper Flag, by the way, 42 points. How about that? Saying we're starting to see some of that, and it sounds like Kyrie might be getting close to coming back. But, so they're still potentially talking about moving Anthony Davis. You know how I feel about that. But I guess you got to do what you got to do. But I think Minnesota...
You're not moving up to a contender.
No, but actually, let's stay here for a second. So, something that was very odd that I heard the other day was that the Chicago Bulls didn't want Giannis Antetokounmpo, but they are open to Domantas Sabonis. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Why?
Sabonis doesn't need the ball.
Okay. What else?
I got guys that can handle the ball. Give me a 20 and 10 guy that's available, younger, available, doesn't need the ball, isn't searching for a second championship.
Is Giannis getting to that point of his career where we're going to, like you brought up playing style with Ja Morant, are we going to start seeing Giannis missing a lot of games as we go forward?
Well, I mean, no, I think Giannis is probably bigger and stronger. Like the way he handles the ball, like just your usage is going to get you into this action where you're bumping into people, falling, getting hit, attacking the rim, getting your hands hit, getting your knuckles, maybe a dislocated finger because you're constantly using the ball, attacking the rim, and you're not playing off the ball.
Right.
Like Klay Thompson rarely gets hurt. He got hurt because someone hit him on a dunk, and then he tore his Achilles, overcompensated for it the following year. But Klay Thompson just in the corner, waiting on the ball, shooting the rock. James Harden's a guy, he's a high usage guy, but he doesn't go to the rim a lot. It's a lot of pull-ups. But you see like the smaller guards are kind of getting hit all the time. Yeah, it's going to wear on you. So if I'm Chicago, I'm open to Sabonis because I have other guys that can handle the ball. I need you down here getting 20 and 10. I think Giannis works in Milwaukee because it's unique and it's been developed for him in Milwaukee. It's like LeBron James this year or even 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know you trade him to a team midseason if he did have a no trade clause, but the teams he's on are kind of built around how he already plays. I think the Milwaukee Bucks are built around the way Giannis plays. It's just that everyone's not performing. Some people are too old, some people in the wrong position, and it's not working. But I don't know where you just put him and it's like plug and play without just pulling a whole core of the other team, like the Melo trade. But I think he might be a little too old for that kind of deal. But that's it. Like, he's a superstar.
Well, especially like we talked about. Well, especially like we talked about before, where like these deals work when we think you traded him just because you want to do something to your team. When we know that he doesn't want to be there, I ain't giving you nothing.
You're the well is poison. If I know, like, I'm surprised that Dame didn't get his Miami deal that he asked for. I know I probably said that before, but it's like I don't know why these players. I get it, the conversation about winning championships, but the way that most of these legendary players won championships was a little different. Yeah, it might have been some free agent moves. I don't recall many stars, definitely recently, forcing a trade out and going to a champion or going to a team and making them a champion. Because if you have pieces that you can dispose of, you still got to figure out how to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
Like KD, and when they got James Harden to Brooklyn, didn't work. KD went in with the Phoenix, didn't work. Jimmy Butler going to Golden State, didn't work. It's just like these moves don't work. Boston works. They drafted a couple of guys in back-to-back years. They built around them. And they brought in some timely free agents. Drew Holiday, he made Boston better in that trade, but Drew Holiday wasn't demanding out of his current location to go to a contender and only team he thinks going to win. So it's like, it doesn't work. Like, it hasn't worked recently in the NBA, and most of these guys that are demanding trades are, on the upper side of 30.
Yeah.
Or like pushing up against 30, 29 to 30, 31. It's like, dog, I got 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds that I'm drafting right now that can give me the same buckets as you. So why am I going to gut my team to get you, even though you're a great player? It's like, I got to look at 2028. Like, that's coming too.
Right. And then last thing for me, I need the Wolves, and I hate to say this because he went to Kentucky, but back to your point about the little 6-foot guards or below. Dillingham. Yep. 36% from the floor, 30% from three. He's only shooting 69 from the free throw line. So you can't even transition from Mike Conley right now in these big moments because you can't trust him. So the trade deadline we're going to start hearing conversation about that. Minnesota, go get you a point guard if you really want to have aspirations to try to challenge OKC this year.
OKC, one of those teams. They made that trade years ago. Didn't panic. They didn't overhaul they didn't gut their team when they got young to try to go chase a star. So, yeah, good luck, Giannis. I don't know. Like, any trade he gets, it won't be. I'm not sure if the return from Milwaukee would be any good. But I think the opportunity to start over for Milwaukee that's probably like the key piece. So their best bet is probably to get as many tradable quality draft picks as they can, whoever they send them to. So if they send them to Brooklyn, get as many picks because Brooklyn's always making deals. They probably have somebody else's first round pick and somebody else's potential top 10 pick. Like, that's what they're gonna have to do.
Brooklyn might want to trade Michael Porter Jr. because he out there lighting it up.
Yeah, he's like, we need some losses here.
Like, you messing up the plans, bro.
This is trust the process 2.0.
Right.
But here trying to get another contract that we're not going to give you.
But on that note, y'all, he is the world famous, one and only, world renowned, cool, calm, and collected, born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem and New Jersey. He stands with you. He hates these sorry ass Nets too. You know what I'm saying? He is Mr. Logical. Don't bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And then, of course, down here in the Alamo, it's your unorthodox statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Salute to you, Mr. Terrence Crawford, on your great career. Enjoy retirement. I am 2-5. I believe in Joe Hendry. You should too. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things, do all the good things. Liquid Death in hand, and come back on Friday for picks, and more picks. Sports Reports is ordered. We love y'all so much. You know what I'm saying? And salute to John Cena. You know what I'm saying? Even though I don't like him, you know what I'm saying? He's out of here for good. You know what I'm saying? It's a sad day in a lot of people's lives, but salute to John Cena for all the entertainment that he provided. Sports Reports is ordered. Download wherever you get your podcasts.
Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports Reports, no gimmicks, no clowns.